Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am so thrilled to have you here today because we've got a wild one. We're unpacking an incredibly fascinating yet deeply troubling sequence of events. Today, we're looking at how a single exam leak didn't just frustrate a few students, but completely spiraled into a massive national crisis that shook India from the streets all the way to parliament. We're talking about millions of students, unprecedented digital mobilization, and a system stretched to its absolute breaking point.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because here's the central mystery we're going to unravel today. How on earth does an internet meme, specifically a joke about cockroaches, lead to the resignation of a high-ranking union minister? To understand this, we have to go on a micro-to-macro journey, tracing a line all the way from the sheer anxiety of a single student sitting for an exam right up to the highest levels of government accountability. So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the NEET Paper Leak, explore the rise of the cockroach party, see how Gen Z hit the streets, zoom out beyond just one exam, and finally look at the true cost of corruption.
All right, Part 1, the NEET Paper Leak.
Picture this. You spend months, maybe even years, grinding for one of the absolute toughest medical entrance exams in the world. You spend lakhs of rupees and endure insane mental pressure. Then, right before the exam, a guest paper goes viral online. And get this, when the actual exam took place in May 2026, roughly 150 out of the 180 questions matched that leaked paper perfectly. The pressure on the government and the National Testing Agency, the NTA, was so immense they had to just cancel the exam entirely. But their solution? They basically told these completely exhausted students to simply sit for a re-exam. And man, that sparked absolute outrage. Students felt it was just a massive injustice to force them back into that pressure cooker.
To really wrap our heads around the scale of this, think about this number, 2.5 million. Roughly 20 to 25 lakh students take the NEET exam every single year. In an exam this hyper-competitive, just one single leaked mark can tank a student's rank by thousands of places. So the mental toll of realizing the system was totally compromised, and then being told to just do it again, it was devastating. Tragically, this extreme mental pressure led to 21 students taking their own lives. The situation was a powder keg just waiting for a spark.
Now, what's really interesting here is how one off-the-cuff remark can completely change history. During a Supreme Court hearing on May 15th, Chief Justice of India Surya Kant made a highly controversial comment. He basically stated that some people act like parasites, and that unemployed youth spread everywhere like cockroaches, attacking the system. Well, that comment inadvertently poured gasoline on a raging fire, because the youth didn't just get angry, they got organized.
Which brings us to Section 2, Rise of the Cockroach Party. Enter a guy named Abhijit Dipke. He's a political communication strategist, a journalism grad, and holds a master's in PR from Boston University. He had previously worked with political social media teams and education departments, so he absolutely knew how to read the room. In a sarcastic post on X, he asks, "What if all cockroaches came together?" From that one single joke, he launches a website, an Instagram page, and suddenly builds this unified Gen Z front called the Cockroach Janata Party, or CJP.
And the speed of this digital mobilization was just staggering. Within days, the CJP gained over 22 million followers on Instagram. They literally outpaced the digital presence of India's biggest, most established traditional political parties. It became this massive online phenomenon, a digital megaphone demanding accountability and specifically calling for the resignation of the Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan.
But, there's always a stark contrast between a URL movement and an IRL, in real-life movement. When Dipke flew back from America and sat at Jantar Mantar in Delhi with party members to physically protest, that massive online crowd didn't show up. The early physical protests were actually surprisingly thin. All that digital anger hadn't quite figured out how to translate into physical mobilization yet.
Moving into Section 3, Gen Z hits the streets.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because it escalates fast. We have the leak in May, the re-examine announcement in June. But the real turning point comes on June 28th, when prominent activist Sonam Wangchuk joins the cause, starting a hunger strike. As his health deteriorates over the weeks, the government starts getting pretty nervous. Then, on the morning of July 18th, dozens of plainclothes police forcibly wrap Wangchuk in white sheets and hospitalize him against his will. Videos of this go completely viral. That heavy-handed police action was the final trigger, giving incredible momentum to a massive parliament march planned by the CJP for July 20th.
And it was huge. Despite the government literally shutting down metro stations and heavily barricading the routes, 50,000 protesters flooded into Delhi on July 20th. And this wasn't just CJP supporters anymore. It became a magnet for thousands frustrated with various government policies. The sheer chaos was unprecedented. Protesters broke through barricades heading straight toward Parliament. This resulted in police deploying tear gas and lathi charges. The situation turned violent fast, with severe injuries on both sides, stone pelting, and clashes involving the police, the protesters, and even the media.
Now, amidst all this chaos, there is a deep, profound historical irony. Back in 1997, in Odisha, Dharmendra Pradhan was actually a student protesting a paper leak and himself faced a police lathi charge. Fast forward 29 years to 2026, and he is the education minister overseeing police action against students protesting the exact same issue. Ultimately, under immense, multi-party pressure, the protests spreading across multiple states, and just the sheer optics of the crisis, Dharmendra Pradhan officially resigned on July 25th.
Section 4. Beyond just one exam.
Because when you zoom out and look at the historical facts, the frustration makes complete sense. Between 2014 and 2026 alone, roughly 150 competitive exam papers were leaked across India, regardless of which political party was in power. You have the 2013 Vyapam scam in Madhya Pradesh that affected a staggering 7.7 million candidates. You have the 2006 railway recruitment leak, where accused individuals actually went on to become sitting MLAs. And the 2022 Agnivir recruitment cancellations that tragically drove some youths to suicide. The system has consistently, repeatedly failed to protect the integrity of education and employment for decades.
At the end of the day, what the protesters were demanding was basic accountability. And if we look at Indian political history, there is a precedent for swift moral accountability. In 1956, Lal Bahadur Shastri resigned after a train accident. In 93, Madhav Rao Scindia stepped down after a plane crash. In 99, Nitish Kumar resigned over the Geisel train accident. So this modern, delayed response, where a minister took days to step down amidst a massive national crisis, it really highlighted to the youth a glaring lack of that traditional moral accountability.
Finally, Section 5. The cost of corruption.
So the crucial point we have to understand here is the staggering financial cost of all this. According to the Economic Times, corruption costs India roughly 1.5 to 2% of its entire GDP annually. That isn't just an abstract number, guys. We are talking about staggering financial wealth being drained by bribery, mafias, and middlemen. This is money that is fundamentally meant to be spent on building new schools, upgrading hospitals, and creating infrastructure, but instead it's siphoned away, leaving the youth to navigate a broken system.
And the global perception totally matches this reality. India ranks 91st on Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index. The sources detail how normalized this has become in everyday life, from government offices where files literally don't move without bribes, to the education sector, where 1 in 4 government teachers in India doesn't even show up to teach, despite drawing a full salary. When corruption is this normalized, when students realize that wealth buys medical seats while merit just gets you a leaked paper, the very foundation of trust in a democracy begins to shake.
Which leaves us with this final, vital question to think about. Yes, the protests forced to resignation, but does changing a single face at the top fix a deep-rooted system where exam leaks, mafia control, and corruption have become the absolute norm? The true challenge moving forward isn't just about political reshuffling, it's about overhauling an entire educational and employment ecosystem so that millions of Gen Z youths aren't left fighting tear gas on the streets just to secure their basic futures. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and I encourage you to keep questioning how these systems are built.